Hello, welcome back to the Tim Weichselbaum Show. My name is Tim Weichselbaum, and I am coming to you live from some place in Texas, a state in the United States of America, North America. There are some comedians, I don't want to start on that subject. That would come off as bitter. That would come off as bitter if I open on shitting on other comedians. Anyway, I'm not a comedian though, so I shouldn't have said other. That's a word that kind of slipped in, and that implies that I'm a comedian. I don't consider myself a comedian anymore, unless you mean at heart. Like, I am always going to be a comedian at heart. So now I just say I used to do comedy. And that's sad because I feel like I should keep doing it just because I guess I am. I'll get more into that later. Like I said, I don't really want to open on that subject. Who cares, dog? It's weird that I still need approval from my parents, yet I'm an adult. That's messed up. Like, why? I feel like that means that I didn't get enough of it as a kid. Like, how does that work? How do people become well adjusted enough to not need approval from their parents anymore after I don't get that. I think it's normal. I think some people can do that. They could just be like, yeah, I don't need for them to approve of me anymore. And then it's a fucked up thing. Anyway, I'm trying not to say the F word for no reason anymore. I mean, this could be appropriate. It took me a while to do this episode. I kind of had a couple false starts, and I was like, I don't have the confidence to talk into. I can't do this right now. Like, I woke up in a very bad mood, particularly, I was just angry at things that were not going right. I was just in for things happening, like people. Like, I felt like I just wasn't standing up for myself or something. I don't know, man. And I have messed up hair right now, kind of. It's not messed up, but it's kind of getting longer, and like I was going to wear a hat to cover it because I think having messed up hair as an adult is a sign of mental illness. So I wanted to hide it. And anyway, they say never meet your heroes. I haven't met any of my heroes, so I don't know if that's a true thing or not. I haven't met any of my heroes. I assume they're douchebags, though. I assume all of them are douchebags. That's who I idolize. I idolize people that get into hot water because I idolize that. I think it's cool to be, like, considered a bad person. So that's who I idolize. Isn't that fucked up that that's true, though, for some people? It's not true I'm just kidding. I was just, like, talking out my ass right there. But it is true that some people idolize people that are just bad people, like criminals. They idolize them. Isn't that crazy? Like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. That's a true song about a dude who murdered people with a silver hammer, and he had fangirls at it. He had like groupies at his trial when he went to trial. I don't think that's true, but I'm just saying I think it could be true. Like, there's examples of that being true, like serial killers having like fans, and so that's fucked up. It's kind of like with Trump. Like, people think it's fucked up to be a fan of Trump because he's like a bad person. They say. I don't know if he's a bad person. I don't know the guy, and I don't know anything about his politics. I knew he wanted to build a wall. And he liked domestic oil, domestic fracking. I don't know. That's pretty much all I know about him. But other people think he's a bad person. And they think if you like him, then you're a bad person. Like, it spreads to you. And I guess that could be true. Like, if you like Hitler, does that make you a bad person? Not really. But if you actually like worship him and like act on it and like form a hate group and like join a neo-Nazi, does that make you a bad person? Still Maybe not. I don't know. But if you're a fan of a serial killer, are you a bad person? Definitely not. Definitely not. I don't think so. I think it's just human psychology to be interested in like a fan of people that kill people, because it's like, hey, I couldn't do that. It's like that's kind of interest. There's like a lore to it. It's like there's no difference whether it's fiction or nonfiction to the consumer of the fandom. They don't give a shit if it. I mean, if you watch a sci-fi, if you watch Game of Thrones and you like one of the people that killed somebody on there, I don't even know if there's any cool characters that killed people on there. I don't really remember that show. Who cares? The point is I lost my train of thought. This is a good podcast, dude. Like I'm using the mic that all successful podcasters use, so that makes me feel like I'm a podcaster. And I don't feel like I've gotten any better at it since I started doing it. So is it a skill to be a podcaster? That's a good question. Somebody recommended me a podcast and I actually checked it out. How crazy is that? How often does that happen? I checked it out like as soon as I got home, which is even more fucked up that I had no other priorities above it. That's fucked up. But anyway, it was I'm not going to say whose it was, cuz I'm a fan of the person. I'm a fan of them. But their podcast was trash. It was boring. It was boring. Just dudes just talking and drinking beer. It wasn't that. It was nothing interesting about it. I just don't have I don't really care that much to just hear dudes just talking to their dude friends. It's very like that particular podcast wasn't very good. But there's other ones like that are okay. But you gotta have something special about you to make it worthwhile. Like not TJ Miller. Wow, I have a brain. I just forgot the dude's name that I had, and then I said TJ Miller, and it went away. Theo Von. He is a special dude. He presents a unique talent. Like he actually goes deep. He's a good interviewer. He knows how to. He's really good at what he does, and it's not just a dude bullshitting with his friends. There's so many of those. That's what Joe Rogan, that's what JRE is, I guess. Just him bullshitting with his friends. That's what it started as. But he was the first to do it, so that gave him a monopoly. And then it became what it is today. But yeah. The point is I suck at this, and I'm glad I'm still doing it, though. It took a lot for me to do this episode, just based on that, because I woke up in a bad mood. And so, like, even if something was successful, I probably wouldn't even be doing it for very long. I've ended things that were successful before. Like, very often I do that. It's like if I think of a joke that works on stage, I stop doing it because it's like, well, I already know it's funny. Well, okay, I'm going to go around the country telling it to, like, oh, I got to make sure everybody hears it. It's like, how narcissistic do I need to be? I just don't get the desire to do that, to go around the country, literally take planes, go on, like spend your life, hours and days of your life going to shitty, small cities and towns to tell a joke that you already know is funny. And it might not work. And then you'll be like, well, I already know it's funny, so I don't know what's wrong with you guys. I guess maybe I didn't deliver it the right way because I already knew it was funny, so the sparkle wasn't there in my delivery. But I already know it's funny, so why am I doing that? What's the point? I guess to entertain people and to get paid and shit like that. But, like, what's the point of just doing an act that you already know is funny? Like, you spend all this time crafting the joke. It kills, and so you know it's good. And then you get it to where it works again and again. You make it better and better. It's like, okay, that's the job. Just making jokes that are good enough to be said in front of the whole country. And then just until you have to have everybody has to hear it, and then you put it on Netflix so even more people hear it, and then I don't know. It's a never-ending cycle. It sounds like it's a never-ending thing scratch that can never be itched. Like that's a lot of work just to be just for people to know that you're funny. I don't care if other people know. Why do I gotta prove that to other? I already know, so it's fun for me to be funny. But like in a mass-produced, do I need to maximize? Like I don't get it. That's why I'll never be a comedian. Because I just don't even get the point of being one in the first place. I feel like this is not unique. Most comedians don't love that process. I think the vast majority just want to do it because they think it's cool, and because they want to like get famous or something and get an acting job. Who knows what other people do it for? I don't know. I don't think it's that fun to do it though, because you don't see that many people doing it, and I respect the people that do. I guess like I just don't get it. Okay, I'm driving to the middle of the Midwest, some place you never heard of, like to tell jokes to a hostile crowd or something. And if it goes well, is it worth the journey? I guess just for the story, maybe. Like just, I made people laugh in a small town and I got paid a couple $100 and it kind of offset the time. Get kind of paid for the gas, I guess. And that's it, though. You just got a story out of it. I mean, anyone could do that. Anyone could make a dumb bunch of drunk people laugh if they were in the right mindset. It's not that hard to make a room of drunk people laugh. You just be an asshole. So I'm really downplaying the skill of comedy, not just the skill. I'm downplaying the career of comedy. But if you make it, even then, I still wouldn't want to do it. I would just want to do podcasts where I fuck around with my friends, where I just bullshit with other dudes. And then other comics will go on their podcast and talk about how me bullshitting with my friends is not funny to them, and I'll be unfazed by it because I won't know that they did that. So this is a great episode. I got a lot to talk about today. This will be a 2-hour one. No. Can you imagine 2 hours? Some asshole just talking for 2 hours to himself about how he's a failure. That would be funny just for that, just the fact that, hey, you did another I'm doing a podcast. Oh, you haven't heard it? Well, the last episode's pretty good. It was a 2-hour one. It's like, wait, so do you have guests on it? Like, how do you go for 2 hours just talking to yourself? Yeah, well, because I don't have a therapist, and I'm afraid of the healthcare system because it's like stressful on my psychology to go through the motions of getting a doctor, and just being treated is stressful. Like getting an MRI, because who knows what's wrong with me? I might need an MRI again, and that's stressful. Going through that process is stressful. Being medicated is just a stressful fucking process. So that's the reason it's 2 hours. This episode is 2 hours. They're not all that long. And I haven't made any clips in a while. Like when I first started doing this, I cut up clips of what I thought was like the best parts. And I would have kept doing that, but it's been a while since I put out anything that I thought was worthy of other people seeing. So that's a good sign that I'm really cooking with my confidence and my self. I don't know what you call it. I'm just not confident in anything that I'm doing, except for like maybe driving. I'm getting more confident behind the wheel. Like I can park better. Like I'm better at parking. Like I could get it in between the lines more often, I guess. What else? I'm more confident when it comes to living in a house. I'm nailing that. I'm pretty good at that. I got a lot to talk about today. We're just getting started, man. I don't even know where to start with this list of things that I thought would be worth talking about that I no longer care about, dog. I wrote all this shit down. That was like, okay, it's gonna be a great episode. I got all this shit to complain about, and now I don't care about any of it. So now I gotta like pretend that this is still interesting to me. No, I think like at least one of them is interesting. I already kind of mentioned how I resent well-adjusted people. I do. Like if you're well-adjusted, like the guy who hosts the podcast Hot Ones, he's smug. And I don't like that. Like, he can handle hot sauce, and he just watches his guests suffer while he's just perfectly fine. And what that makes me think he's a douche. But I'm sure he's a nice guy. It's just like that's a weird way to gain clout by being able to eat hot sauce. Okay, it's like big deal, dog. Like, can you act? I don't know, man. That was a good one. I got a lot of shit about like okay, here's one. Stereotypes. Stereotypes are fun for other people. Though if you are a stereotype, it's not as fun. No, but it's not fun to be a stereotype and have people make fun of you and prejudge you for shit because you fit into a mold of their perception, and then they just assume things. But that's not fun, you know. And I'm a stereotype that people often complain about. I'm a nerd. I'm a crypto guy that moved, to Austin. That's obnoxious to people, dude. They talk shit about crypto guys all the time, and I don't blame them. I mean, I guess it is kind of gross to be a crypto. Like, if I was just getting into crypto, or if I wasn't already into it, I'd be like, why do I need this? If I was like in this day, like in this country, what is the utility of crypto? So it would be a fucking obnoxious, and it's already at a high okay, it's $50,000. Here's this awesome new technology. It's like, okay, it's $50,000 to have one Bitcoin. So you need to buy 0.001 if you want to have some and you don't want to spend that much. Okay, that's exciting stuff, man. It's like, so if you haven't already been in it for 10 years and you're not rich from it already, kind of late to the, like, who's just getting into it? Who's just being like, yeah, there's this new thing. It's called crypto. It's like, yeah, you mean that thing that you like, so you're a billionaire. Like, what are you talking about? Why you have to tell other people about it if you already know about it and it's been around for 10 years? Aren't you like a really rich person? And that, what are you spreading the word? Like, why do you have to spread the word about something that was so easy to get rich from? Why would you tell other people about it? I talk about it only as a joke because I know that it's funny. It's interesting. It is interesting to not really. What is interesting about it? I guess I thought my particular story was interesting, that I did okay from it, but not in retrospect. There's not that interesting, so I don't like talking about it. Is what I'm saying. Because why? What's like people who think the Will Smith thing is fake and like to talk about how everyone is dumb who thinks it was real? They're the new Q-tards. They're the same people who claim that Epstein didn't kill himself. It's like, yeah, he did. He was depressed. Who would want to be Jeff Epstein in 2019? You think he had a good outlook when he was in a prison cell and knew he was going to go to jail for 20? Like, isn't that like basic logic, like just basic path of least resistance in terms, like, what is the most logical thing that happened? Well, he was a billionaire and now he's going to be in jail for the rest of his life, or he could kill himself and not have to go to prison for the rest and be hated by society. And I don't know, it just pisses me off that people like to think that they know the inner truth and they use that to shame other people and feel superior about themselves. It's a narcissism. It's just a form of narcissism. There's no logic in saying Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on, like that was a planned thing just to give the Oscars more what? Nobody watched it when it happened. They're just talking about it. No one's going to watch the Oscars next year because of that. It's like, oh, who's going to get punched this year? It's like simple, like, who? Do people not think before they say shit? Ever? Like, I notice how often I stop myself mid-sentence. You think maybe that's because I'm rethinking it as it comes out? It's not because I'm a stutterer. I don't have a stutter. No, it's called I have a brain. It's called I'm thinking as I'm speaking. And I go, wait, that was dumb. Let me rephrase before I actually finish something stupid. Do other people just not have this inner censor or dialogue? Conscious? Fucking. I just don't like dumb people, man. That's why I don't like interacting with most people. Like even, it puts me in this position where I don't interact with anybody because other smart people I also don't like talking to because then they have the same feeling about me whenever I'm dumb, and then they shame me for being dumb, and I go, well, fuck you. So it's like, yeah, I like that they're smart. I like myself, but I would not like myself if I wasn't me. If I was like hanging out with me and I was giving myself looks for some dumb I just said, I'd be like, well, damn, you're an asshole. I would not want to hang out with me. But I have an excuse, at least. I mean, everyone has you should have an excuse for being an ass. Anytime you do something asshole-ish, there should be something that excuses it, at least from your perspective. Like, even if it's just, oh, I was having a bad day, you got to at least tell that to somebody when you get called on it, because otherwise you're basically just saying that you have like this deep-rooted problem that you're just basically saying you're an asshole otherwise, if you have no excuse. Because sometimes everyone's an asshole. Nobody just goes through life without ever like doing something kind of dickish, I would think. So what do they say? They apologize if they really feel self-aware that they were indeed an asshole. They would say, "Sorry, I was irritable because something happened." If you just don't excuse it, then you're admitting that you need help, I think. But I have an excuse. My usual excuse is that you perceived my lack of outspokenness. No, my lack of outgoingness. You perceived that as me being a dick when actually I just I'm socially anxious. I'm shy and introverted and not extroverted. So you confused my introversion with unfriendliness, and my excuse for that is autism. There's a lot of people tell me I don't know if I actually have it, but I sure know that other people think I do. And I tell them, I go, well, at least I'd rather have a little bit of Asperger's than be on the asshole spectrum like you clearly are by going around telling people they have autism. It's not exactly nice to tell somebody that, but at least I have an excuse for why you think I don't know, like there's a lot of people that don't have autism that say rude shit, and I kind of would rather I'll take the autism. At least I have an excuse, is what I'm saying. At least that's a better excuse than just, oh, I'm just an asshole. I've always known I was an unusual person, so if it's not autism, it better be. That's the best thing it could be. I mean, otherwise I need serious help. I think I don't need like heavy medication to get over my problems. I think just a low dose of psilocybin, something natural. I want to take something natural. Because pharmaceuticals, like, I want to develop them. I love big pharma. Yes, that's what I love big pharma. I like the idea of patenting a drug and making billions of dollars. That's it. What else is there to be said? That's the part I love about it. That is the most greed-satisfying thing in the world. Having a monopoly on a chemical, on a molecule. Are you kidding? If you could just patent a molecule, don't you think you would be one of the richest people in the world? Well, that's how it works for pharmacies, for pharmaceuticals. If you invent a chemical, yeah, you get all the money until the generic comes out, until the patent I don't know how that works. For pharmaceuticals, you can't just have a patent for however long. It expires after a while. I think it's a shorter expiration than regular patents because it'd be really easy to hoard a lot of wealth otherwise. It'd just be super easy. Well, now I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy the patent for cheap because no one gives a fuck about this drug. It's like investing in a stock. You just buy up the patent, and then there'd be so much more monopolies. But that doesn't stop me from wanting some of that easy money. I mean, can you imagine? Just, okay, here's this new drug. It's effective according to this study that we paid $1 billion to produce. That just makes me annoyed that people think that just because there's a study for something that means we gotta support it. It's like, well, don't you realize money was spent to get the results? Like, you don't think it could be biased? Like, well, yeah, that's why it's double blind. That's why it's like peer reviewed. I go, yeah, but okay, maybe there's some credence to that. Maybe that's why it's called science. It's like, yeah, that's why it's science. If it's a BS study, it'll get scrutinized as such. So I guess I'm still kind of white-pilled or blue-pilled. I guess I still believe in the scientific method, because if not for that, what the hell else are you basing reality off? Your instinct, like your intuition. Like, I do believe in science, despite my lack of getting the vaccine and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm alive, so sorry if you. I mean, I wish I could be dead to really feel the consequences, but then I wouldn't have learned that. I mean, I didn't learn anything because it turns out I was right. I mean, I didn't need to get it. I had an intuition that based on my critical thinking of the situation. People were like, "Hey, you should get the vaccine." And I go, "Okay, thank you for your input. I didn't ask." And then I would think about it for about 2 seconds. I'd go, "Okay, should I get the vaccine?" Well, somebody told me to do it, but I already had COVID, so I'm actually going to not get it because I haven't seen any data. Like, I haven't seen any compelling evidence that you still need to get the vaccine if you've already had COVID. And then it turned out there were studies that confirmed that, yeah, if you had COVID, it's way stronger than the vaccine. That gives you way stronger immunity. So yeah, it's called critical thinking. I think about stuff myself. I don't let other people. I don't outsource my brains. See, this is what I was kind of talking about before. Like, do people not know how to think in this fucking country? In this world? I mean, there's dumb people everywhere. I love when people just think that dumbness is localized to America. I mean, we definitely are champions at that. We're amazing at it. We excel at it, but there's dumb people in every country for the most part. Maybe not Iceland. There's no dumb people in Iceland. But there's a lot of dumb people all over the place who don't know how to think, and I'm not saying, what I mean by that is they outsource their thinking. They might not be dumb people. They might be capable of critical thinking, but they choose not to, and that is a dumb thing to do. It's double dumb. It's dumb in two ways. It's dumb because they chose not to do it, and it's also dumb because they're not doing it. Because if you did it, you would not be as dumb. You would gain the knowledge, or at least you'd gain a better insight or a more informed. Even if it's not more informed, it would just be more you. It'd be more, okay, it's not, you can't call it informed if it's just you think. Like me not getting the vaccine was not only my, I did not source the knowledge myself. I looked at many different opinions. It wasn't like, and then I gravitated towards what made the most sense by law of average. I just averaged it out. Am I okay if I don't get it? Probably. Does that mean I'm totally 100% right not to? No, it just means that I'm probably going to be okay. And even if I got it, that's also would have been okay. I don't think either way would have been. It's just like, yeah, if I got it, I would probably be okay. It's just, I guess I decided to just not. I almost got it. I was on the fence. I was like, oh, yeah, I should probably just get it, just for convenience of not having to worry about it or something. I almost got it. So I mean, I'm not. So I wasn't that hard on either side. I was just like, yeah, I probably don't need to get it. Am I gonna die on this hill? Am I, like, if somebody really forces me to get it? I don't know, because nobody forced me to get it. It's not how that is. Just so I don't know. I don't care. The point is I thought about it and I was right. I was right. The herd is dumb. Herd immunity is dumb. No, herd immunity is awesome. Thank God we achieved it finally. You haven't really heard that. You don't really hear any news. You don't really hear CNN saying that we achieved herd immunity, even though I think we did. Do you see COVID going around anymore? I think we definitely achieved herd immunity. Where's the news about that? I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not actually serious. I'm just thinking of what we kind of did for certain strains, maybe. Does that make sense? Scientists watching that think I'm dumb. I think we did achieve herd immunity for the first strains, and then the second one and the Delta one. I mean, come on. Show me a peer-reviewed study that says, actually, I don't care. I don't care if it's peer-reviewed. If it's double-blind, I'm all yours. Science is dumb. I like how I'm trying to debunk science as can you imagine just someone like trying to parody science? Yeah, give me a double-blind study and make sure it's peer-reviewed, and they're being ironic. I'm sure there's people that do that, like on the fringe, like Q-tards probably do that. They probably mock studies that are peer-reviewed because they don't know what it means or whatever, and they think all scientists are like like whatever the word is together. There's people that think that for sure. And I'm sure maybe there is some conspiracies in the science community, but all it takes to be a scientist is to also. What does it take to be a scientist? Because anyone could kind of call themselves a scientist if they do a little bit of science. They have to get paid to do it. I don't know, man. I just think there's gonna always be some good scientists. And it shouldn't even matter if they're good. See, that's the thing about science. It's not like you could be like, well, he's a shitty scientist because he didn't invent anything. Well, okay, but he also tested other people's inventions, and he found that not inventions, but he peer-reviewed some studies, and he found that the studies were correct. That's all he did, and that's all he needs to do, because that's all science needs to be. All it needs to do is kind of substantiate that something in reality is period. You thought I was going to say more, but then as I was thinking about it, I was like, no, that's a complete sentence. That's pretty much all it is. It just confirms. It doesn't just it tells you what's going on in reality. That's all science really. It's a process to figure out what's true and what's not true. in essence. And so peer reviewing something, if that validates a study, then that's science. That's all that matters. We don't care what else the guy does in his free time. We don't care if he's if he breaks beakers. I don't care. He peer-reviewed something, and he might be the worst scientist in the world, but he peer-reviewed it. And so now I feel like I have no idea what I'm talking about after that sentence, because I think it does matter if you're a shitty scientist, because then you have no, like, who the fuck are the peers that are reviewing? Are they good peers or shitty peers? What the hell does that mean, peer-reviewed? I don't know, because when I assume it means somebody who's an expert in the field that is being studied. Otherwise, what the hell? It doesn't matter if they review it. That's why it's peer-reviewed, not just randomly reviewed. This study was reviewed by 50 random people on the street, and they all agree that it's good shit. I don't say the N-word too often. It's just not my thing. I text it to people, but I use it in like the modern friendly sense, like not the classical way. Like, it's just great. It's just a great word to call somebody you want to hang out with. There's nothing hateful about it. It's just a word that so it's not a word that should be eradicated. I like that I live in a culture that makes things less difficult for people going through rough times. Like, it's now inappropriate to call someone homeless. You have to say they're experiencing homelessness. They're going through a condition. It doesn't mean it's what they are. And I was thinking about that. It's like, does that really help anybody? Like, oh, I'm not going to call you homeless, but I'll call you experiencing homeless. It means the exact same thing, and it does absolutely zero to solve the problem, except for maybe that you have a weak self-esteem by being called what you are. So that implies that there's homeless people on the street that would not be homeless if they had simply not been called homeless because it hurt their self-esteem, to not work hard enough to stop being fucking homeless because they took it as like an identity crisis. It gave them like this feeling of like hopelessness that somebody called them what they are. Is there really people out there that are homeless because of that? That's it? That's the only reason? Okay, so that's not. It's not because you're on drugs. It's not because you're addicted to heroin or schizophrenic. It's because somebody called you what you are, and that hurt your ego, that hurt your self-esteem, and now you're hopeless. It's like if you had only specified that it's not necessarily permanent. If you had just simply said that I'm experiencing homelessness, if you had simply added 5 more syllables that are not easy to say syllables, I just fucking damaged my vocal cords by doing that. So you want me to hurt my vocal cords because you are a homeless person with a fragile sense of self. I gotta age my vocal cords and do irreparable damage to them by saying experience. Fuck that word. Fuck any word that has an X in it and an S afterwards. I met somebody at a comedy club, and after they left, they said, I'm in that Prius right there, and I was saying goodbye to them or whatever. I was like, okay, enjoy your Prius, and I felt myself go. I was like, oh, I was just kidding, because I was like, why did I say that? Came off like that came off dickish. It came off a little bit douchey to tell somebody that, because Priuses are goofy cars. Like, nobody is like, oh yeah, I drive a Prius. Nobody like looks at that as like a status symbol. it's a often made fun of car. And so I felt like a douchebag because this guy, I didn't know this guy. It was somebody I just met. So I didn't want him to like take offense. So I caught myself. I would have never done that to somebody if I didn't drive better cars. If I was not at that point in my life where I had cool cars. I don't know. I didn't like of course I like a Prius. Of course he's not going to enjoy a Prius. That's an irony. It's an ironic thing it's a sarcastic thing to say. Sardonic. Nobody enjoys a Prius. It's just a thing it's a completely utilitarian car. And to brag, you're helping the environment. But Tesla is that, and it's cool. So anyway, I'm better. So fuck that guy. Hope he enjoys his shitty fucking Prius. What a loser, man. Anyway, I have a lot of free time still. No desire to use it to fill it up with anything because I'm on this medication and I have like a bad mood. Like I have no energy or desire or motivation to do anything. Like took a lot of planning. Like this took a lot of mental energy to just do this. So doing anything even like taking out the garbage is like brutally. It's like a lot of work. So I have a lot of free time, but so I'm trying to use it by doing something productive and creative. So I'm trying to do some songwriting, and that's not good for my ego because I'm actually pretty good at it, and it's gonna only cause more narcissistic injuries because it's gonna be like, oh great, this person's being a dick to me, and I'm a good songwriter too. On top of it, well that's a disproportionate way to be treated based on my talent. Don't they see my talent badge? Don't they see my armband that says talented Jew? So never do anything that confirms that you're talented if you're a narcissist. Some people just can't handle it. Some people, because there's no cure for narcissists. Let's face it. You could get therapy. You could be self-aware. Like I kind of am, but I still am one. I still need the narcissistic supply. And then once I don't get it anymore, I'm going to lash out. I don't know, man. I need to be on like some kind of mood levelizer or just mushrooms. I don't know. I do want to grow mushrooms, but that takes work. And like I said, I don't have the energy. I don't have the ability to do anything right now that takes, I don't have the life force. That's a good word. And as I was walking to my car, my better car than the Prius, to continue that anecdote, it's not over yet. I walked past these this group of homeless people, and I should have crossed the street, but I didn't want to be one of those people that crosses the street just because of homeless people. But I should have because they yelled something at me and they started following me. But then they stopped following. So nothing happened. But I was just thinking this could turn into something eventually if I keep doing this. If I keep going out here, enough times, somebody will try to mug me or whatever. And so I was like, do I know how to de-escalate a situation like that? If somebody tried to mug me, would I just immediately tell them, would I threaten them with a gun? Would I do something to hint at them that I am going to shoot them if they I'm assuming they don't have a gun. I'm saying this in this situation, this would just be somebody who doesn't have a gun who's trying to mug somebody in Texas of all places. What do you say to de-escalate it? Or because I wouldn't want to escalate it. You don't want to use your gun unless you have to. Like Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't think he wanted to use it. Maybe he did. I can't psychoanalyze him, but I wouldn't want to use it. That would suck to have to shoot somebody on the sidewalk. You're not going to look good in that situation. It's not warranted. But you gotta do something to get them to back off. So what do you do if you're trying to like be like, yo, this is like, what do you say to show them that's not illegal? Do you just say, this is Texas, be careful? Like, you gotta say something that's not super threatening. You don't want to just threaten somebody just because they are, well, it depends what they're doing. It really just depends on the situation. But, like, don't they realize that this is Texas and a lot of people are armed? I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea to mug people in Texas. And especially right now in the post-COVID world, everybody's on edge. Pretty much so many people are not doing well mentally right now. It's just not a good time to test somebody in a defensive situation. Like, don't test somebody in Texas. They might not even give you much. They might just pull their gun out and start shooting. They might Mark Chapman your ass. They might John Lennon you. I guess I do get angry at people that gave me bad advice. I hate when somebody gives me advice and it turns out to be garbage, and they were so arrogant about it, and they didn't even, it was unsolicited. It's like, I didn't fucking ask, and then they turn out to be fucking dumb. Years later, it dawns on me how fucking bad their advice was. Like, because I knew they're full of shit, dude. Like, when I was young, I didn't go to college and my parents kind of pressured me a few times to go to college. And, like, I knew it was bullshit way before everybody else knew. Like, now, everybody knows that college is bullshit. Like, unless you're being a lawyer or a doctor, that's pretty much it. Aside from a few institutional type jobs like that are very, based on legalities like that, like a doctor, it's just legal. You need to get a medical degree to get into that business. I'm not saying that's whatever. The point is college is a fucking scam and everybody knows it now. I kind of was like, yeah, I don't need to go. I'm my own person. I could just develop a skill and do whatever I want to do. I don't need to go to college. And nobody ever apologized to me for giving me that advice, that arrogant, wrong. And like, I knew my parents were full of shit. They didn't know what they're talking about. I was like, yeah, go to college, sure. Didn't like Bill Gates drop out of college? Like, can't I just be an entrepreneur or something like that? He's like, I don't know, man. So they didn't have, I don't remember what they said to that. I think I won the argument. I think they just said, well, he's Bill Gates. I was like, yeah. So he started off as Bill Gates. He didn't develop that over time. Yeah, I know he's Bill Gates. I'm using him as an example of someone super successful that dropped out of college. So I know who he is. I don't know. It just pisses me off, dude. Like when adults think they know what's best for a kid just based on their old, like what was drilled into them. But there's nothing magical about college that you can't get from anywhere else, like from the internet, from learning. Like, the knowledge that you get in college is all available online for free. All of it, even medical stuff, law stuff. What do you have to, okay, maybe there's some stuff that's behind a paywall. Okay, pay $30 a month and you'll get every legal document known to man and every medical textbook. So college is a scam. But I'm not saying any specific college is a scam, because as a Jew, I have a general knowledge of law, and I know you're not supposed to slander certain. You're not allowed to just say, for example, that Harvard has a rape dungeon in their basement. You're not allowed to say that. I know that. I know that because I just know the laws. And like nobody's ever sent me a card in the mail saying, "Hey, I'm sorry that I gave you that arrogant advice. Turns out you were right as a kid." And Some kids are smart, dude. Like, you ever see kids are like Greta Thunberg? That, like, you know what I mean? Like, that girl is like, there are some smart kids. Like, I don't care about like the whole global warming crisis thing or whatever she was talking about. I couldn't care less about what's going on with the environment, like what's going to happen to the earth. Couldn't give a fuck less. We'll just go to Mars. But she is clearly like smarter than most adults. I just don't like the complacency that adults have where they think they know everything. And meanwhile, there's this kid that's just like way ahead of them at everything. Dude, that Greta Thunberg, she is somebody that deserves, she's smart. I mean, she's a very eloquent person that seems like an adult. That just makes adults seem dumb by comparison. The planet Earth could go to hell in a handbasket for all I care, but yeah. I'm in a different spot of my desk because I'm trying to do songwriting. I have more space to do music stuff here. That's why I'm in a different area of the desk. For people watching. This is an audio podcast, also a video podcast. I went to a comedy show 2 days ago to see TJ Miller. He did a midnight show. Otherwise, I would have not gone because I just wasn't really awake enough. Yeah, so I went to a midnight show. I was like, hell yeah, I'll go to a midnight show. And it was a good show. And I am a fan of him, even to the point where I paid to see him. But then I found out he would not want me as a fan. But I can't control that I find him interesting. I can't control who I find interesting. I didn't meet him. He's too famous to do meet and greets, or at least he didn't want to. At least I don't blame him though. Because the first thing that comes up if you Google him, like, is about how he got accused of a bunch of shit. He has a bunch of negative news articles that come up if you Google him. So I get it. He gets a lot of hate, and that sucks. But it was a great show, and they say never meet your heroes. Did I say this already? But I didn't meet him, so I didn't meet him. He did not do a meet and greet. I almost went up to him. Because he did for a second. He left the green room and then he left the club. And I guess I could have gone up to him, but who gives a shit? I don't want to bother him. But I did buy hot sauce from him. He sells this hot sauce. I didn't buy it from him. I bought it from some dude. But the money went to TJ directly. And so I don't know why I bought it. I guess I just thought, like, hey, I guess I'll buy hot sauce. I could use some. I like hot sauce. I don't have any, so. And I just wanted to support. I don't know why I bought it. I guess I just wanted to meet TJ Miller, and I did not meet him, so it was kind of a waste of money, to be honest. But let's try it. This will be like this will be like hot ones or whatever. It has vinegar, cayenne pepper, habanero. That's the one I wanted. That's the one I care about. Habanero. I didn't get the ghost. Who cares? So it's not even going to be hot. I should have got the ghost pepper one if I was going to do it on the podcast. But let's just try. Who cares? I said to suck it out. That was gross. That was disgusting. Yeah, that tastes good. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. Anyway, so let's move on to the episode. I think we're almost done. It's not that hot. Like, it has a kick to it, but it's not that bad. I think it's fucked up also that you could bring guns into comedy clubs. That's like anyone could just assassinate a comedian if they're at a certain club. That is scary in a post Will Smith punching Chris Rock day and age. Like, we live in a post Will Smith slapping Chris Rock world. And to comedians, that is scary because it sets a precedent. It's like, hey, if Will Smith can get away with it, then what's stopping degenerates, like people that are not Will Smith, who are way more likely to actually do it? Yeah, it scares comedians. Not that I care because I barely do it anymore, but what was the point? Yeah, the point is you could just bring a gun into certain comedy clubs and just shoot somebody there's nothing stopping you. So I do think we need not better gun control, just for comedy clubs to not let guns in. So that is gun control, but this is, private business. I'm just saying, man, there's some comedians that could potentially be assassinated. So you probably should not just let anybody in. I'm saying there should be some security at comedy clubs. Like at least one fat guy, which there was at this one, at the one I'm thinking of. But I mean, like, just should you allow guns at comedy clubs, man? Seems kind of dangerous. Seems very dangerous. Post-COVID, post-Will Smith slapping Chris Rock world. It's what a fucked up time to be alive, man. Like, Bob Saget's dead. Norm Macdonald is not alive. Can you imagine? What is that? How is that? How the fuck are we supposed to live in a world without Norm Macdonald? Bob Saget, okay, but Norm Macdonald is not alive? I can't wrap my head around that. How could somebody so important just go away? And there wasn't even like a big to do about it. Like there wasn't like a parade. I mean, I get it. Gay people need parades, but like, come on, I can't have one for Norm Macdonald. We do the gay one like every year in every city. That's a lot of parades. You can't just count it as one parade. Every city has like a gay pride parade. That's a shitload of parades if you add them up. And not one for Norm Macdonald. We don't have a lot of parades for comedians that die. That's not good. Robin Williams deserved a parade. I mean, come on. What a dick move of society. If society was a person, they should be punched in the face by Will Smith. I think that's what Will Smith was doing. I think he thought Chris Rock was just a representation of society, and it was just all this bottled up rage of him hearing these gossip articles about how his wife cheats on him, and like it's just like, fuck you, society. So Chris Rock was just the tipping point for what was actually a much larger, grandiose problem with society, and that is that society's a dick. That's why I don't promote this podcast, dude. Society would hate this podcast. Society would immediately throw it in the trash can and be like, fuck this guy, but also let's let him keep doing it because it's kind of fun to cancel people. So actually, like, I guess when people try to cancel people, some of them do want them to actually stop doing the thing they're doing. I think most people just want them to suffer. Like when a comedian gets canceled, they don't actually get fired from anything necessarily. Like Chris D'Elia didn't get fired from comedy. He just got a lot of bad press, and people talk shit about him and wanted him to suffer, I guess. But did they really want him to stop being him, like doing stuff? No, I mean, because then they'd have less things to talk about. They wouldn't be able to really, I mean, okay, you won. He's no longer doing anything. He's just like, no, you want him to keep putting stuff out so then you have more fodder to be like, look at what he did now. So actually, that's why I think society does want me to do this. nobody wants there to be no Nazis. And I'm not saying that has to do anything with me. I'm not saying I'm a Nazi. I'm saying nobody wants there to be zero Nazis in the world, because then there'd be nothing to talk shit about. We wouldn't be able to post a bunch of like infographics about how much white supremacy is like taking over the world, and like look at all these Nazi groups in Europe. Like, well, if there was zero of them, you wouldn't be able to feel superior to them. You wouldn't be able to do what Nazis do, which is feel superior to other people, because there wouldn't be any Nazis. I don't know, man. That's a very weird thing to say, but people need somebody to shit on. Society needs an underbelly or an underling. There needs to be a caste system and a class system in every society, I think. I think it's just kind of I think it's part and parcel to what makes a society even exist, is that there's a class system. And I'm not trying, this is not like new ground I'm breaking, I don't think. I'm sure that there's anthropologists or some scientist that peer reviews stuff that would know more about this. I feel like Jordan Peterson would know a little bit about this. Be like, yes, there's a class system everywhere. No, that's not how he talks. But he would be like, yeah, like every society has some classism in it. And classism is like racism for wealth. It's when like a rich person pisses on a Prius because it's not a good enough car, or it's when a Prius owner, or more accurately a Toyota Corolla driver pisses on a Ferrari because they hate the rich person. They just hate the sight of somebody doing better than them. And by virtue of pissing on their car, it actually proves that they're worse than the rich person. The rich person doesn't go around pissing on Priuses. So actually, all you're doing is showing that there's a rich person out there that's better than you. So I don't really know what you're trying to prove by doing that. It's like the same thing with racism. It's like, okay, you're going to do something racist to another person, and all you're doing is proving that white people are dicks, or whoever's being racist. I'm assuming it's a white guy because they're the best at it. But all you're doing is proving that you're an asshole. So you're not helping the white race by being an asshole. So it's kind of hard for them to be racist, I guess. It's hard for them to be violent racist, that is. If you're a non-violent racist, okay, whatever. Wow, that hot sauce is kind of giving me like a little bit of a stomach achy feeling. It was good, man. It was good, just habanero, so it wasn't that spicy, so it wasn't like that interesting. And I think that covers it. I mean, there's more I had here, but I really think I covered a lot of ground. I guess I'm saying, like, with the like classism, that's poor people racism. I mean, you don't have to think I don't know that there's not I know that there's poor racists. There's plenty of racist people that are poor. But another thing that they're good at is hating rich people. There's classism that goes upwards too. It's possible to punch up with classes. There's so much classism on the internet, on Reddit. Reddit is a hive mind. It's a cesspool for classism. They hate rich people. By any means, they like to talk shit about anybody who has any money, the upper class or middle class, anything above them, they despise. Like landlords, they despise landlords. It's like, okay, I mean, landlords are people. I mean, I get it. You don't like paying rent, but like you could make your own. I don't know. Like what else is the other alternative? You get free housing. So yeah, I mean, and then they just think that it's possible to just get free housing. I think that's what they. I don't know. I can only assume. I don't know any. I guess I've met people that identify as like communist, and they think that if they just relieve all wealth, if they just, I don't know what the fuck they want. They think they could just redistribute wealth and make housing more affordable. Maybe that's true. But I don't think it'll ever be free. I mean, nothing's free. There's no such thing as free. But what do I know? I'm just, I don't know. Some things are free. Like, whoever's made up that phrase is dumb. Of course there's stuff that's free. Air is free. The sunlight's free. Nobody charges you for sunlight yet. I'm surprised that's still free. That's a natural resource that you could just get just by going outside. You just go outside, boom, you get all this free sunlight. That's free, you dumbass. There's other shit that I could think of that's free, like nitrogen. That's in the air. Air is not just oxygen. There's also like hydrogen and nitrogen in there, I think. That's free. Grass, you could just take grass. If you just go in unincorporated lands, you could probably just take grass if you could just take it. Anyway, so this has been a good episode. I no longer consider myself a comedian. I already said that. Oh yeah, somebody asked me what my style was, because I guess they asked if I was a comic, and I just said yes, because I guess I'm still a comic at heart. And they said, what's your style? And I was like, and I don't think any comedian likes being asked that question. I think pretty much every comedian that has been doing it for more than a year or 5 gets annoyed at that. It's like, just check me out. Just look it up and you'll see what my style is. Go fuck yourself. I'm not going to tell you what I'm edgy. Like, that's what I said. I just said, I don't know. I just do edgy, over the top bullshit. And I hate that I even said that. I hate that I summed it up in that way because it's so banal sounding. Yeah, I just do edgy. It's like, fuck, I don't know what I do. I do whatever I find funny, and that could change. It's not all edgy necessarily. I could get a laugh just by saying a word wrong. That's not edgy. I mean, I don't always have to do that. So I hate it. Fuck that guy. Again, he's the same guy with the Prius. Fuck him and his Prius. And I don't have a problem with celebrities that I would like if they capitalized their scandals. Like when I saw T.J. Miller, I'm a fan of him, so it's not like I'm not trying to shit on him. He's an easy target, but like I was kind of hoping that he would address some of his scandals. I was hoping that he would sell like a T-shirt with like a train and a bomb on it. I think that would be funny. Like if Cosby had a merch table after his shows, like selling like Spanish Fly, that wouldn't bother me. That'd be funny. Like as long as some of the money goes to the victims. It'd be the most tasteless thing in the world. But it's not like he could turn his image around at this point. So he might as well capitalize on it. It's like, I'm pretty sure he's going to go down as a dude who raped a lot of... Like, there's no way his image is going to become what it was 20 years ago. So, I'm a genius is what I'm getting at. That's the point of that sentence, that topic that I just nailed. I've been nailing this episode. Anyway, that's it, though. That's the end of it, though. So thank you very much for watching or listening to it. I'll see you next week.